Big Island is a land that has been romanticized by outsiders for well over 100 years. Its natural beauty, culture, and remoteness have made it a worldwide destination, bringing in people from all over the globe to experience its famous beaches, volcanoes, and rainforests, ramping up real estate prices and creating a tidal wave of value inflation that makes buying a home in some areas almost impossible for the average person. So today, we're going to be exploring property in Hilo, Ocean View, Ranchos, and KONA to see what affordable housing looks like and if there is anyone that can actually afford it. Mahina ma'alea, e kuhi kuhi mai, e alaka I paha, e ho'o puni puni. If you've been following the real estate market here on the Big Island at all for any amount of time, then you know that there are always a ton of luxury homes on the market. I'm not talking about houses that are $1 or $2 million. I'm talking about mega mansions. These things go for 10, 20, $30 million. And when they hit the market, they usually sell like that and for cash. I actually really enjoy checking these places out. My partner and I make video featurettes of them all the time. Let's admit it, it can be a lot of fun checking out things you can't afford. Right up until it isn't. You start to wonder, what can I actually afford? What can I get? You look on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, whatever it is you use, and you confirm, yeah, I can't buy anything on the Big Island. If you're familiar with our channel, you know that we primarily make video walkthroughs of luxury homes and our listings. It's usually Julie walking around, checking out the amenities, commenting on the house. But let's face it, if you're not making $256,000 a year and you don't have a bunch of money to put down on a house and you don't have perfect credit, you're not buying a house in KONA anytime soon. I want to know who can buy. Where can they buy? How about someone who works at McDonald's? Can they buy a house here on the Big Island? How about a single mother of 3? A small family just starting out? How about newlyweds that don't have any credit established and no job history? Where can they buy on the island? That's why for the past week, I've been checking out houses that were under $1 million. And today we're going to be previewing a small condo in Hilo, a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home in Ocean View, a foreclosure in Ranchos. I'm going to actually start off right here in KONA looking at the Pines. And we're going to see if any of these people or anyone in the world can actually afford to live in these places. Today, we're going to be vetting 4 different potential buyers, each with unique backgrounds, income levels, and credit histories. And we're going to see how well they match up with our properties. Now, let's go ahead and check these guys out. First up, we have Leilani, a single mother from Hilo. We have Kimo, Anella, and their boys from KONA, Daniel and Melissa's family in Waimea, and lastly, Kai and Emma, who live in Puna. Now, we're going to be taking a deep dive into their lives, where they work, how much they spend, their credit scores, special needs, and even whether or not they require childcare. With the help of ChatGPT, we'll also dig into the local workforce, average incomes, and housing situations in each area. We'll have the AI study economic reports and whatever reliable info we can find online to get a better idea of what's going on. We'll also explore any special loan programs that could fit their individual needs. Plus, we'll be factoring in driving distances and the potential for job relocations. The Big Island has some pretty remote spots, and let's be real, gas isn't cheap out here. Can they even afford to get to work? Let's try and find the answer to this question and a lot of other ones, starting off at the Pines in Kailua Kona. And before I forget, if you could take the time to like and subscribe, it would really mean a lot to us. On the west side of the Big Island, you'll find Kailua Kona, part of the district of North Kona, and known for its sunsets, clear waters, and strong local economy. So where do most people work here? About 18% of locals work in accommodation and food services, 16% in retail trade, and 12% in healthcare and social assistance. Now, these industries do matter, but the heart of the jobs, the energy of the town, all come from one thing: tourism. Now, KONA's strong tourism scene isn't unique, but it is next level when compared to other parts of the island. When you stack KONA up against the other districts on the Big Island, the difference is clear. While every district gets some tourist traffic, KONA and nearby South Kohala are on a totally different playing field when it comes to how much of their local economy depends on visitors. And here's the thing: when a place relies this heavily on tourism, it shapes the entire housing market. More short-term rentals, more demand for out-of-town buyers, and higher prices overall. It means tougher competition, rising costs, and in some cases, being priced right out of your own backyard. With that said, I think I might have found a place that could work for a few of our different buyers today. It's in a subdivision called The Pines. It has 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, and it is under $1 million. Now, what does that mean? Let's find out. Pines is one of KONA's older, well-known neighborhoods. And while it used to be a favorite for locals and longtime residents, with today's prices, that's starting to shift. Technically, The Pines isn't your typical subdivision. It's actually a CPR, so every home here is legally a condo. And even though they look like detached houses, that means HOA and maintenance fees come with the package. There are actually 2 sections, Pines 1 and Pines 2, and the layouts and the vibes are pretty similar, but Pines 2 tends to have slightly newer finishes and a different exterior style on some units. Otherwise, both areas share the same classic KONA convenience. In total, there are 96 units, all single-level homes with a mix of 2 and 3-bedroom floor plans, generally between 1,000 and 1,300 square feet. The neighborhood sits right in the heart of Kailua Kona, close to town, but still tucked back enough to feel quiet. The home we're going to be checking out today is located in Pines 1, one of the original sections of the community, Unit 54, which right away has an advantage. It backs up to a large empty lot. So when you're sitting in your backyard, you're not staring right into someone else's living room. Now, this home is listed at $695,000 and was built back in 1989. Like I mentioned earlier, it's part of a CPR, so there are monthly maintenance fees to factor in. Those fees come to around $1,000 a month, and they cover quite a bit, actually. Water, sewer, trash pickup, exterior paint, fencing, roofing, and even annual termite inspections. But you got to keep in mind, that's in addition to your mortgage. For some buyers, that extra monthly cost can be a big factor. It's in a convenient spot, and from the outside, it checks a lot of boxes. But the real question is, when we run the numbers, will this actually work for any of our buyers? All right, so we know a little bit more about KONA and the house we're looking at in the Pines. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home. That's technically a condo, so it actually has HOA fees. If you want to know more about CPRs, I'll leave a link in the description. You can learn all about them and what they truly are. But let's find out if any one of our buyers can actually afford this place. Let's talk about what this place might actually cost, because that list price, that's just the starting point. This home is listed at $695,000, but honestly, it's been sitting on the market for a bit, so we're not going to be paying full price. We'll say a reasonable offer is around $665,000, which is about 95% of what they're asking. That's still a lot of money, but a little more realistic. Now, if someone's buying this place with a pretty standard loan, that would be called a 30-year fixed rate, and you'd be putting down about 5%. So whoever's buying this is going to need to come up with about 33 grand just to get started. And that's your down payment. On top of that, there are closing costs, which are kind of like all the fees that you have to pay the bank, title company, etc. And that usually adds up to a few thousand more. So already you're looking at close to 40 grand just to buy in. Then there's the monthly cost, and this is where it adds up fast. The mortgage, that's what you'll be paying the bank every month, is going to be around 4 grand. The HOA fee, which is basically your monthly neighborhood fee, is going to be $1,058. Your property tax, probably around $260 a month, and home insurance, let's just say $100. Now, each of these numbers are going to be different for everyone, but total monthly, somewhere around $5,500, give or take. And that's before you pay groceries, gas, your phone bill, or literally anything else in life. So yeah, whoever's thinking about buying this place needs to have a solid, steady income. And honestly, they got to be more than just getting by. This is a home for someone who can actually handle some financial weight month after month. It's got 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms with just over 1,200 square feet of living space. It's not huge, but it's also not cramped either. It's a detached unit, which means you won't be sharing walls with any neighbors. There's also a fenced backyard, which is great for people who love pets. Inside, the bones are good. There's tile flooring throughout, and it has split AC in each of the bedrooms, which is a giant plus when KONA heats up. But with that said, it's not perfect. The bathroom vanities are a little outdated, and the walls could use a fresh coat of paint. It's nothing major, but it's the kind of thing you'd probably want to tackle at some point just to make sure the place feels newer and like your own home. This house makes sense for a small family, a couple who needs a bit of space, or even someone downsizing who wants a yard and privacy. Next up, let's talk about jobs. This house is in KONA, which is one of the better areas on the Big Island when it comes to finding work. There are a lot of opportunities in hospitality, food service, healthcare, retail, maintenance, and similar fields. We got hotels, restaurants, grocery stores, clinics. It's all around here. So if someone works in one of those industries, this could be a really good fit location-wise. They're close to town, and commuting wouldn't be too bad if the job is anywhere along the KONA coast. Now, if someone has a really specific career, or they're currently working over in Hilo or one of the more remote parts of the island, that could be a problem. Commuting from KONA every day isn't super practical unless the job is somewhere nearby. Okay, this home is part of the Pines. We already went over it. It's quiet, clean, and maintained by a homeowners association. That means there are monthly fees, but in exchange, a lot of things are taken care of for you. So if someone's not into yard work or exterior maintenance, this setup might be ideal. You still get the feel of a single-family home, but without the constant upkeep of one. It's also pet friendly, which is great for animal lovers. Let's wrap it up and talk about how this house is going to hold up over time. This place was built in 1989, and while it's held up well, a few things are showing their age. Bathroom fixtures, paint, maybe some finishes. It's not falling apart, but down the road, whoever owns it might want to do some upgrades. But the upside? Detached condos like this are rare in KONA. You're not getting the same experience as a regular condo. You've got privacy, a garage, and your own yard, but without the full-time responsibility of maintaining the outside. That kind of setup will always appeal to a certain group of buyers and renters, which helps with long-term resale value. It's in a very desirable part of town, and homes here tend to hold their value if they've been taken care of. That said, the HOA fee is high, and that could limit how much appreciation someone sees, especially if the monthly costs make it tough for future buyers, or if they keep going up. So yeah, there's value here, but it's not a slam dunk. Okay, that was a lot of information. But now that we've got a good idea of what the property is like, let's go ahead and start matching up our buyers. Now, we're going to be using the same 5 categories to see how they match up: affordability, sustainability, employment, location and community, and long-term viability. And let's start with Leilani. Leilani is a hardworking single mother living in Hilo, raising 3 kids on her own while working full-time as a dental assistant. She brings in about 45 grand a year, and she's doing her best to stretch every dollar with rent, childcare, groceries, and a car to keep running, there's not a whole lot left over. She's got a credit score of 590, which isn't great, but it's not a deal breaker either. It just means the road to homeownership is going to be a little rougher, but still possible somewhere. Now, let's see how this KONA home stacks up for her. Affordability. Let's not sugarcoat it. This place is expensive. The monthly payment is going to be around $5,500. That's more than she makes in an entire month. Well, let's talk about assistance. Leilani might qualify for a USDA loan, which requires no down payment. But the area needs to be USDA eligible, and this KONA property is not in a USDA zone. An FHA loan is more realistic. With her credit score and income, she could potentially qualify for an FHA loan up to $250,000, maybe $300,000 if she keeps her debt to income ratio under control. But that isn't even half of what this thing costs. She could also apply for Section 8 homeownership vouchers, but these programs are super limited and hyper competitive. Even with assistance, this home is way beyond what she qualifies for. It's not even a stretch, it's a giant leap. Judgment call doesn't work. This home is not affordable for Leilani, even with every assistance program stacked in her favor. In fact, we don't even have to go over the other categories. Suitability, of course, is big enough, can't afford it. Employment opportunities, there's jobs in KONA for her, can't afford it. Location, community, it's a safe place, great for kids, can't afford it, doesn't matter. Long-term viability, it would be a great purchase, can't afford it, doesn't matter. So this one is a big no. Leilani's story is one we see far too often. She's single, independent, holding down a steady job, and even with careful budgeting, the numbers just don't line up. She's not asking for a mansion, just a safe, quiet place to call home. But in this market, it's becoming harder and harder to find, especially in KONA.
Your hands soft with the rain, reach for me again. Na ua kahiko I ka honua aloha. I trace the ridges of your mountains with my fingers.
All right, up next, we got Kimo and Anela.
Closer.
Kimo and Anela, a hardworking couple living right here in Kailua, Kona with their two young kids, age 5 and 7. Now, Kimo works as a maintenance tech at a local resort, and Anela is a barista. Together, they bring in about $90,000 a year, which is solid, but not luxurious by any means when you're living in one of the most expensive areas on the island. They're currently renting a 2-bedroom apartment for $2,200 a month. Now, covering daycare, car costs, and credit card debt from emergencies, they've really had to power through. They don't have much in savings, but they show up and they work every day to make it happen. They're ready to stop renting and start building something of their own. Now, let's see if this place could work for them. Affordability. All right, let's break this down. Kimo and Anela's max housing budget, based on 30% of income, is about $2,200 a month. That's less than half of what this home would cost them per month. So unless someone doubles their income overnight or wins the lottery, this house is way out of range. So what can help? Down payment assistance programs could help with upfront costs, but again, the monthly is the real issue. Judgment call, does this work? Doesn't work at all. Their income just doesn't stretch far enough to make this home affordable. And just like Leilani, we don't even have to go over all the different sections. They just can't afford it. So unfortunately, as far as the Pines goes, Kimo and Anela don't make enough to buy it. And it's tough because they're doing everything right. They're working hard, raising their kids, showing up every day, and still, a home like this is just out of reach. And they're not alone. For a lot of local families, this is the reality. The numbers just don't work. Not because of a lack of effort, but because the system keeps moving the goalposts.
I am woven into your skies like stars in the night.
Now, I know it seems bleak, but you've got to remember, we're looking at a home in one of the most expensive areas on the island. These numbers aren't a reflection of these people's worth. They're just a reminder of how high the bar has been set here, for all the reasons we already talked about.
Waits where you left it, braided tight with sun and dust. Your saddle still smells of rain and iron.
Next, we're going to be looking at Daniel and Melissa. Now, Daniel is a firefighter and Melissa is a registered nurse. And together, they're raising 4 kids, ages 3, 8, 10, and 15 out in Waimea. They're bringing in a combined income of $170,000, which is solid, especially by Big Island standards. But when you've got 4 growing kids, student loans, a family van to pay off, that money disappears quite quickly. Now, they have been able to maintain a 710 credit score, which is considered good. They're currently living out in Waimea and paying $3,000 a month in rent for a 4-bedroom rental, and they're managing. But the goal is hopefully to own something before all the kids are grown. Let's see if this KONA property can be the one to carry them through to that next chapter. Now, even though on paper they make good money, I still think they only have one chance to get this house, and that's if they go with a conventional 20% down payment loan. With that said, they'll need to bring in about $133,000 for their down payment. That is a massive number, but it's not out of reach for someone like them if they've been putting away money for the last couple of years and can access retirement funds or homebuyer programs. With 20% down, their estimated monthly mortgage payment, including taxes, insurance, and HOA fee, would be around $4,500 a month. Their ideal housing budget, based on the standard 30% rule, is about $3,500 a month. So this home is already $1,000 over their comfort zone every month, but not necessarily out of their budget. It's a stretch, but if they're willing to tighten up in some areas, they can actually make it work. Suitability. This 3-bedroom home is tight for a family of 6, but with smart room sharing and garage and storage use, it's workable. They're handy enough to handle a few light updates themselves. So, judgment call, it works. Tight but functional. Employment opportunities. Melissa is a nurse and Daniel's a firefighter. Let's deal with them one at a time. For Melissa, healthcare in KONA is solid. She could apply at KONA Community Hospital, Li'i Health Center, and any number of urgent care and private practices all over town. With her credentials and her background, she could transfer or commute a few times a week, or even find a higher paying gig in the private sector. Now, as for Daniel, if he's with Hawaii County Fire Department, transferring from Waimea to KONA is possible, but not guaranteed. If it's not guaranteed and he doesn't get the transfer, that commute would be brutal. Waimea to KONA is at least an hour depending on traffic. That's a lot of gas and a lot of wear and tear on a car. So if Daniel can't transfer it, he'd need to either commute a few days a week and then just sleep at the station, or figure out how to pick up work in KONA like private security, maintenance, or even construction. Judgment call, it's mixed. Melissa can definitely make it work. And as for Daniel, if he wants the house bad enough, he's gonna have to make it work and move into some uncomfortable territory. It works. Now, as far as location and community goes, the Pines offers low maintenance living with solid amenities, and it's close to everything. But there is that $1,000 a month HOA that will require strict budgeting so that it doesn't interfere with the kids' college savings. But overall, it works if they plan for the HOA. This place has a strong resale potential and could probably serve them for the next 10 to 15 years. It works if they play the long game. Daniel and Melissa are standing right at the edge of possibility. This home isn't cheap and it's not going to be easy. But for the first time in our lineup, we're looking at buyers who can actually make it happen if they're willing to stretch. It would take sacrifice. It would mean letting go of certain comforts and saying no to extras, sticking to a tight budget and moving into a space that's a little more compact than ideal. But that discomfort, that's where growth lives. Families don't thrive because everything's perfect. They thrive when they work together, face challenges head on, and build something out of love and grit. This home could be that foundation, not just for stability, but for pride, for a peace of mind, and for a future that their kids will never forget.
Holds the quiet hills, but mine is lost in the wind. E kamakani, e holoi kuru hewa. Wana loa le au, I ka pona au po.
Now, before we move on to our next property, we have to talk about our young buyers, Kai and Emma. Here's Kai and Emma, a young couple who moved to Hawaii from Australia, chasing waves, sunshine, and that slower kind of life we all dream about. They started out woofing on a farm out in Pahoa, trading farm work for a roof over their heads and a taste of the Big Island's wilder side. But after a few months in the mud, they realized farm life really wasn't for them. Now they've settled into town, living in a small studio apartment, working full-time. Kai at McDonald's and Emma at Taco Bell. Together, they make around $58,000 a year, and their credit score sits right around 610. Not bad, considering they've just started building financial roots here in the United States. But let's be real, this home in the Pines is way out of reach for them. The cost alone is more than their total monthly income, so we're just going to skip over them completely for now. But with that said, not every home on the island is like the Pines. There are places more humble and more affordable that might just give Kai and Emma a real shot. Let's keep looking.
They make it easy if it depends. So we forget to for plant, forget to for men. The reefs still know what the moonlight shows. They'll always still wait where the water flows. But breaking free, not just a dream. When the end we own control the stream.
Down on the southern end of the Big Island, tucked deep in the district of Ka'u, you'll find a place that feels like another world. Ocean View. This isn't a bustling town or a tight-knit subdivision. It's miles and miles of raw, open land, long stretches of road that seem to go on forever, cutting through ancient lava fields under endless blue skies. The landscape here is stark. Black rock, scattered trees, and wide, windswept lots that feel like they stretch all the way to the horizon. It's quiet, desolate, peaceful, and poetic. The subdivision itself has a unique story. Hawaiian Ocean View Estates, or just Ocean View as most people call it, was once one of the world's largest private subdivisions. It was the vision of Don and his brother Jack Crawford, the original developer, and as it happens, Don was one of my very first clients before he passed. He had a big dream for this place, a place where people could own land, live simply, and find space to breathe. Every lot here is at least 1 acre, sometimes more. There's no county water, no big infrastructure. People who live here are used to hauling water or catching rain, and many live off-grid by choice. It's not for everybody, but for some, Ocean View offers something rare: space, silence, and the feeling of being completely on your own. So who lives here and where do they work? Ocean View sits in the heart of Ka'u, the Big Island's southernmost district, and while the landscape feels remote, there's a growing community here. People building houses, raising families, and finding ways to make it work. That said, most residents commute to KONA, Hilo, or nearby towns for work. And that's no small thing. From Ocean View, it's about 90 minutes to KONA, and 2.5 hours to Hilo each way. That's long, winding, and for many, it's a part of everyday life.
There's a small but expanding town center in Ocean View itself with gas stations, markets, and a post office, but the big employers just aren't here. The top 3 job sectors in Ka'u are education, healthcare, and retail. About 22% of people work in schools, 17% in health and social services, and another 15% in retail. Farming and ranching are still a part of daily life for many as well. But life out here comes with trade-offs. Because there's no county water, that means everyone lives on catchment. And because of that, you won't find a public school, no hospital, or other large infrastructure. Well, at least not yet. What you do find is space, independence, and an eclectic, growing sense of community, built one house, one road, and one family at a time. When it comes to affordability, Ocean View is in a league of its own. The median home price in Ocean View is just $292,000, and many sales come in even lower than that, especially for unpermitted or unfinished homes. Stack that up against the rest of the island. North Kona sits at $1.3 million, South Kohala just over $1 million, and South Hilo and South Kona are pushing $600,000. Ocean View is part of what keeps Ka'u's prices grounded. But that affordability comes with trade-offs. Many homes are built in phases or they're still under construction, often located in Lava Zone 2, and may be unpermitted or even lack grid power. Still, for buyers priced out of the rest of the island, Ocean View is where the dream of home ownership still lives. You'll need patience and maybe even a generator depending on what street you live on, but you might just end up with a place you can call your own. The home we're looking at today is tucked just 2 blocks off the highway on Walaka Drive in the lower part of Ocean View, where the air is cooler and the ohia trees are still strong. Listed at $343,000, this fully permitted 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home sits on 1 acre, with sweeping views of South Point and the Pacific Ocean. With over 1,000 square feet of living space, an own solar system with 20 panels, and on-demand hot water, the home is simple, efficient, and eligible for traditional financing, which is a rare combination out here. In today's market, it's hard to find a move-in ready financeable home under $350,000 anywhere on the island, let alone with a view and its own power source. For the right buyer, this might be the shot they've been waiting for. It's not luxury, of course, but it's clean, quiet, and thoughtfully upgraded. Whether it's a starter home or a retreat or a long-term residence, this one checks a lot of boxes. Ocean View isn't just about land, it's about distance. It's a long drive to everything, 90 minutes to Kona, more than 2 hours to Hilo. There's no public school here, no hospital, and no county water. Life runs on catchment, solar, and self-sufficiency. But there's also a growing sense of community, markets, neighbors, and a slower rhythm that some find deeply grounding. If you need convenience, services, and a short drive to work, this is not the place. But if you're looking for land, autonomy, and something you can actually own, Ocean View has potential. This particular home is fully permitted, solar powered, and well priced below anything you'll find in Kona or Hilo. That makes it financeable, livable, and realistically attainable for a buyer who's okay with trade-offs. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a real one. And in today's market, that's getting harder and harder to find.
All right, so we know about Ocean View now. We know what it is. It's rural, it's beautiful, it's vast. You have to have water catchment. This house seems pretty cool. It's permitted, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. Can any of our guys afford it? Let's check it out.
While this Ocean View home is listed at $343,000, we're gonna say a fair purchase price is $320,000. Why? It's been on the market for a while, comps in the area are coming in lower, and Ocean View properties usually tend to have some room for negotiation. $320,000 feels like a realistic and fair offer. At that price, the monthly payment with a standard 30-year loan, average interest, taxes, and insurance lands in the ballpark of $2,000 to $222 a month, depending on credit, down payment, and loan type. That makes this one of the few move-in ready homes on the island that actually lands within each of our buyers' tight budget. We'll use this baseline number to go forward to evaluate each buyer, and we're going to start off with Leilani. At first glance, it might look like this is Leilani's shot. The price is within reach, the home is financeable, and has everything she needs on paper. But living in Ocean View isn't just about buying a house, it's about a lifestyle. And for a single mom with 3 young kids, that equation gets a lot more complicated. Now, let's talk about affordability. This is the closest Leilani has come to a home she could actually afford. At $320,000, and assuming that she'd get an FHA loan, which is 3.5% down, her upfront cost would be about $11,000 for a down payment, plus closing costs, which could be around $6,000. That's still a hefty lift, but not impossible, and with help from maybe a tax refund, some of her savings, or a down payment assistance program, it could get a lot easier. Her total estimated monthly payment for this place would be around $2,000 to $2,200. That's a big jump from her current rent, but not totally out of reach if everything else lines up. Judgment call, it works. It gets a thumbs up. Technically, the numbers pencil out. Suitability. This home has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and over 1,000 square feet, and it's on an entire acre of land, more than enough for Leilani's 3 kids. It's clean, efficient, and doesn't require major renovations. With solar power, on-demand hot water, and a permitted structure, there's no guesswork, just a place to finally call her own. It's one of the few homes that actually fits her family, her needs, and her lifestyle. Judgment call, it works, and it's a perfect fit for her family on the property level. Employment opportunities. Here's where it all comes crumbling down. Leilani works as a dental assistant, and Ocean View is 2.5 hours from Hilo, where she currently works. There are no dental clinics in Ocean View, and very few in Ka'u, which means she'd either have to change careers or take on a brutal commute, one that simply just doesn't work when you're also managing childcare and school pickups. Even if she tried to pivot and find a new job, there just aren't any local jobs in Ocean View that work with her. That means Ocean View might be affordable, but only at the cost of losing her job and stretching herself beyond reason. Judgment call. Unfortunately, this is where the dream ends. This home is so close to what Leilani needs, affordable, practical, full of promise, but the land is too far, the road's too long, and the cost of isolation is just too steep for a mother raising 3 kids on her own. In another life, in another season, this place might have been her escape. But for now, the miles between where she is and where this house stands are much more than just geography. They're a reminder of sometimes, even when the numbers finally make sense, the life around them just doesn't. All right, let's move on to Kimo and Anela. Now, Kimo and Anela are already doing the hard part. They're working full-time, raising their kids, and holding steady in Kona where life just isn't cheap. Now, Ocean View offers them something they haven't seen yet: space, affordability, and a chance to build something bigger than just rent receipts. Affordability. Now, at $320,000, this home drops neatly into Kimo and Anela's zone. With an FHA loan and 3.5% down, their upfront costs would be, like we said earlier, around $11,000. That's big, but it's definitely not impossible, especially if they lean into tax refunds and down payment assistance and family support. Like we mentioned before, they're going to need a little extra. They're going to stand on their tippy toes to make this down payment work. Now, I've mentioned FHA loans a few times already, so what are they? An FHA loan is a government-backed mortgage. It's been designed to help people buy homes who have a hard time getting a down payment, and the loan has more flexible credit requirements. It's one of the most common ways that first-time buyers get into the market, especially when traditional loans feel way out of reach, kind of like right now. So if Kimo and Anela were able to get an FHA loan on this house, their monthly payment would be right around $2,200 a month. Let's talk a little bit about the 30% housing rule that I've been using for these buyers. It's a simple rule that states you shouldn't spend more than 30% of your gross income on housing. Using Kimo and Anela, for example, together they make $90,000 a year, which breaks down to $7,500 a month. 30% of that monthly $7,500 is $2,250. That's their target budget for rent or mortgage, and it lines up perfectly for this ocean view house at $2,200 a month. That number gives them breathing room to manage utilities, groceries, transportation, and still have some to tuck away for rainy days. Judgment call, it works. Financially, this house fits their budget almost perfectly. Suitability: 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, over an acre of land. It's more space than they've ever had. Their kids could each have their own room. Kimo could finally have a space for his tools and weekend projects, and Anela could carve out a little corner for herself too, away from the tight squeeze of apartment living. The solar system and on-demand hot water mean lower bills and self-sufficiency, 2 things that make a big difference for a working family. Judgment call, works all day long. It more than works. It feels like a home they can actually grow into. Now, let's talk about the tough part, work. Their jobs are based in KONA. And Ocean View, again, not to sound like a broken record, is 90 minutes away from KONA, both ways. That's a lot of time on the road, a lot of money and gas, and a lot of wear and tear on your car. That's not even talking about going up and down the Ocean View Road. Luckily, the Walaka house is low in the subdivision. That makes a big difference. When you're looking at homes in Ocean View, sometimes you'll see them way at the top. That can be a 25-minute drive to the top, uphill. Then you gotta come down. Now, could they still do it? Maybe. I think Kimo working maintenance in KONA, either he's gonna have to drive or turn himself into a local handyman. Believe it or not, there's actually a lot of real estate deals that go on in Ocean View. Handymen are needed to fix gutters, paint walls, repair drywall, and there's also a lot of long-term renters out there. He should contact property management companies and see if they need a handyman. Now, Anela in food service would have a much tougher time. There are smaller cafes and shops in Ocean View, but not many, and the pay is probably lower than in KONA. But I personally know people that live out in Ocean View and drive to Captain Cook, drive to KONA every day, and they make it work because they want it to work. So with that said, my personal experience says the judgment call, it works with sacrifice and smart planning. Now let's talk a little bit about location and community. The lifestyle here would be a major adjustment for this family. These guys are town folk, and Ocean View isn't KONA. It's quieter, slower, rougher around the edges. Living here would mean catchment water, long drives, and fewer conveniences. But it would also mean a real yard for the kids to play in, stars overhead at night, and the pride of ownership that they've actually never had before. They would trade daily convenience for deep, meaningful roots. And that's a trade I think a lot of families are willing to make. It doesn't have to be forever. This could be a baby step towards something much bigger. Judgment call, it works, if they're ready to embrace the change. Long-term viability. In the long run, this could be one of the best decisions they ever make. The home is financeable, it's got solar, and owning land in Ocean View as the area continues to grow could put them in a stronger financial position in the next 5 to 10 years. It's not going to be easy, just like all of these choices. There will be long commutes, repairs, muddy days, and moments of doubt. But if they lean into the lifestyle and they're willing to take some grime with the gold, they might see the land not as a burden, but as a gift. They could build something lasting. Judgment call, this thing works. Long term, this could be the foundation of everything they've been working toward. Final verdict? This could be it. For Kimo and Anela, this isn't just a house. It's a way out of renting. It's a way out of paying someone else's mortgage. It's land their kids could play on. Space to finally breathe. A hard life possibly, but a good life. It's not glamorous, it's not perfect, it's real, attainable, and it's full of potential. And in this market, that's as rare and precious as rain in the lava fields. This could be the one that changes everything. Now, before we move on to Daniel and Melissa and the Ocean View house, I want to talk about lava zones because I mentioned it earlier, very briefly. And here in Ka'u, they matter. Lava zones are ranked from 1 to 9 based on how likely an area is to be affected by future lava flows. Now, Zone 1 is the most hazardous, and these are located closest to active rift zones, while Zone 9 is the least active. Why does this matter? Well, because some lenders and insurance companies treat properties in Lava Zone 1 as high risk, which can make getting a loan or affordable coverage more difficult or more expensive. FHA loans in particular are typically not allowed at all in Lava Zone 1, and even in Zone 2, you'll often need a higher down payment or special underwriting. It is possible I've closed FHA loans in Ocean View before, but as you can see on this map, Ocean View is mostly Lava Zone 2, but there is a narrow strip of Lava Zone 1 that cuts through the upper part of the subdivision. And if you look closely, you can actually see the old lava flows etched into the landscape. You can see it from aerials and you can see it on Google Earth, clear as day. It's dramatic, it's real, and it's something every buyer out here should be aware of. Let's talk about Daniel and Melissa. Like Kimo and Anela, Daniel and Melissa could absolutely make this home work. With their 170 grand a year income and 700 credit score, they easily qualify for financing at this price point, and the home size would fit their family, with little room sharing and flexibility. But for a dual career family with 4 kids and busy schedules, the 90-minute commute to KONA would probably turn daily life into living hell. They're not boxed out of Ocean View financially, but with better options closer to work, this probably isn't their best fit. So, judgment call. I'm going to go ahead and say Daniel and Melissa don't want to live in Ocean View. They can push and make something else work. Now let's go to Kai and Emma, these young guys. For Kai and Emma, this home is closer than anything they've seen yet, but still just out of reach. With their income, even a $320,000 price tag pushes the limits of what they can qualify for, and saving for the down payment would take time. With that said, even if they found work locally, like at the small shops, markets, or the cafes in Ocean View, and kept their lifestyle simple, they could carve out a life here. It's not a no, but it's a not quite yet. Out of all the buyers we looked at, it seems there's really only one match for this home, Kimo and Anela. Now, this house isn't just a set of walls and a roof, it's a doorway into a whole new way of life. It's the start of something harder, yes, but also something real, something lasting. And they're gonna have to learn how to live country style. They're not gonna be able to just drive to Walmart every time they need something. They're gonna have to learn how to conserve water if they're on catchment. And they're gonna have to learn how to haul their own water when they need it. There's gonna be long stretches of boring, open highway that they might have to drive every day. They're gonna have to learn how to repair things with their own hands and find comfort in quiet nights under a sky full of stars. It's not the polished, easy life, but it's theirs. For the first time, they'll have space to breathe, room for their kids to run wild, land that they can shape with their own hands, and a home that they can truly call their own. Ownership here isn't going to come from convenience. It's going to come from commitment, sweat, and pride. And sometimes that's exactly the kind of foundation that a family needs to grow stronger than they ever thought possible. And for Kimo and Anela, this isn't just buying a house. It's claiming a future. Now, just down the road, there's another opportunity waiting. This time in Ranchos, where a foreclosed home might offer the kind of extreme negotiation room that young buyers like Kai and Emma have been hoping for. It's rougher and it's riskier, but sometimes the best chances are the ones hiding in the cracks. Let's check it out. So the next house we're actually looking at isn't that far away, just across the highway from Ocean View Estates. Literally on the other side of Highway 11, you'll find a place called Hawaiian Ranchos, or just Ranchos as us locals say. It was developed by the same group behind Ocean View, and it shares the same off-grid infrastructure. No county water, no sewer, no sidewalks, just land, lava, and sky. But Ranchos is different in one major way: space. Here, every lot is at least 3 acres or more, giving homeowners even more privacy, more flexibility, and more distance between neighbors. But it's not just size that sets Ranchos apart, it's climate. While Ocean View Estates sits a little higher in elevation and gets more rainfall, Ranchos is drier, hotter, and windier with more sun and less vegetation. You trade ohia trees for wide open lava flats. It's rugged, it's exposed, and for the right buyer, it's a blank canvas. Now, most of Ranchos is identical to Ocean View. It's right across the street from it, and it uses the same gas stations, markets, and cafes. So there's a lot we can skip over and get straight into the home. The home that we're looking at today in Ranchos is actually a foreclosure on Tapa Drive, and it's listed for $239,000. And for a fully permitted 3-bedroom house on 3 acres, that price really turns heads. Now, a foreclosure can be a mixed bag. The upside, negotiation power. Banks want these homes off their books, which means there may be room to come in even lower than asking. The downside, they sell as is with no guarantees, no disclosures, and no one's been living in them. So what you see is actually what you get. And sometimes what you see isn't the only thing there. Squatters can occasionally take up residence in vacant rural homes like this one, especially in isolated areas like Ka'u. Getting them out can be costly, drawn out, and honestly a freaking nightmare. And it's something that any serious buyer needs to look at early. But with that said, you can usually tell when a squatter is in a place, and I was there definitely wasn't any squatter in this home. It was actually surprisingly livable. The layout is solid, the bones are good, and aside from some cosmetic fixes, it's ready for someone to move in and make their own. It did need a new catchment tank, water pump, and filtration system, which I usually round off to be about 10 grand altogether if you have someone else install it. Because of its foreclosure status, needed repairs, and long time on market, we're estimating a realistic purchase price of only 199 grand. With a conventional loan, 10% down means the buyer would need to bring about 20 grand for a down payment, plus the regular closing costs. And assuming that this is a 30-year fixed rate loan at around 7% interest, That means our total monthly cost is going to be around $1,500. That's great. As far as suitability goes, this 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home offers just over 1,000 square feet of interior space. It also has a 528 square foot carport, and it sits on a flat, usable 3-acre lot. There's enough space for a family, a garden, animals, or even future structures. It does need cosmetic updates and the new water tank, but for a foreclosure, this thing is in great shape. A little sweat equity here could go a long way toward building long-term value. As far as employment opportunities and location goes, it's basically just like Ocean View. We already talked about it. Long-term viability at $199,000, this might be the best balance of price, space, and livability that we've seen so far. It's financeable, it's not falling apart, and it gives the buyer room to grow both physically and financially. With basic improvements and steady hands, this could be a true long-term home, especially as land in Ka'u becomes more valuable and off-grid living continues to appeal to younger, self-reliant buyers. Okay, so Ranchos is a lot drier than Ocean View, and although it is just right on the Mackay side of the highway, there are quite a few differences. Different HOA, different road maintenance, and the lots are way bigger. They're like 3 acres. Very cool place. However, it is a foreclosure, and those can be tricky to get. Sometimes you get them for more, sometimes you get them for less, sometimes you can get financing, sometimes it's gotta be cash. If you wanna know more about foreclosures, I'll leave a link in the description. Check out our website. But until then, let's see if any of these guys can actually afford it. We're gonna start with Leilani. And on paper, this might be the most affordable home we've looked at so far. At $199,000, the numbers are finally within striking distance, even for Leilani, with her $45,000 a year income and her 590 credit score. But numbers alone don't tell the whole story. We've already learned this. Even if she could find a job nearby or somehow manage the 2.5-hour commute to Hilo, this home would ask more than just money. It would ask for time, tools, repairs, and a level of independence that's hard to manage with 3 young kids. The $10,000 for a catchment system alone would be a heavy lift, and the cosmetic work required, painting, flooring, deep cleaning, would either cost more money or demand weekends she simply just doesn't have. Judgment call altogether. Sorry, Leilani, this one don't work for you either. Leilani needs stability, not a fixer. She needs a home that's ready on day one. And this ain't it. Now, let's move on to Kimo and Anela. This house could work for Kimo and Anela. The price is low, the land is big, and with a combined income of $90,000 a year, they could qualify for a conventional loan without too much struggle. But compared to the Ocean View home, this one would require a lot more work up front, repairs, cleanup, and a full catchment system replacement, all while raising 2 young kids and working full time. With the small children, it just makes more sense to get the Ocean View house. So they could definitely get this one if they're willing to do even more sacrifice and more work, but I'm gonna say the Ocean View one is just better. Judgment call, this one totally works for them in all the same ways that Ocean View did, but I feel like the Ocean View house would probably work better for them because there's less work up front with the little kids. And Daniel and Melissa could afford this home without question. But for a family of 6, this property just doesn't make sense. And for the same reasons that they wouldn't get the Ocean View house, I think they could push harder and get something in town. The commute would be too punishing, and the catchment replacement repairs just add unnecessary stress. And the remote off-grid lifestyle probably doesn't fit this large family. They work hard and they deserve something a little bit closer to town. Judgment call, they can afford it, but I don't think this house works for them.
Light filters through and paint your face. Shadows dance from the palm tree shade. Nothing's like it was before. No sand shoes, nor a hollow door. No centipedes biting in the dead of
all the buyers that we've looked at, this one finally feels like a true fit for Kai and Emma. They're young, flexible, and they've already been living a minimalist lifestyle in Pahoa. With no kids, no major time constraints, and experience living off grid, they're the kind of buyers who can make a house like this one work. This isn't a starter home for them, this is their start. With a combined income of 58 grand a year and a credit score around 610, Kai and Emma are right on the edge of qualifying for a conventional loan with a 10% down. With 20 grand down, they might just pull it off, especially with down payment assistance, or maybe a gift from mom, maybe a little creative budgeting. Their total monthly payment, including mortgage taxes, would be around $1,500, which is actually cheaper than many rentals on the island. Judgment call as far as affordability goes. With hustle and a little support, it works. Suitability. This home has everything they need and nothing that they don't. 3 bedrooms give them plenty of space to grow, whether that's hosting friends, working remotely, or even starting a family down the road. The lot is flat, usable, and 3 full acres, which means there's room for a greenhouse, tools, animals, or whatever future they decide to build. And let's talk about the rooms. If they're crafty, they can even get a roommate to help pay the mortgage. Yes, it needs a new catchment tank, but for a couple in their 20s with time and energy, that's nothing. I've seen people in harder places use Walmart plastic pools as their catchment tank. Judgment call, it works. It's the right size, it's the right place, and it's the right canvas. Employment and location. Well, as we've seen before, Ranchos and Ocean View share the same employment limitations and remote lifestyle, but Kai and Emma are already living that life. They work at McDonald's and Taco Bell. They're making it work on fast food wages, sharing one car, hitchhiking, and shopping local. They won't need to change much to transition into home ownership here. They can get a job at a cafe or a restaurant or the grocery store and they can make it work. Judgment call, it works for them. This lifestyle is already theirs. Long-term viability. This home gives Kai and Emma ownership, freedom, and control. It lets them stop paying rent and start putting down real roots. Sure, it's not going to be easy, just like all of them. They're going to have to figure out their water situation and fix things slowly, and they're going to have to learn as they go. But with YouTube tutorials, almost anything is possible for someone like this. They've already shown that they're not afraid of that. And in return, they'll have land, privacy, and a foundation that they can shape however they want. Judgment call, it works. In fact, it's perfect.
Now I know why my grandpa cried that day.
This home gives you something rare on the Big Island. A permitted house on 3 acres for under 200 grand. On paper, almost all of our buyers could afford it. The numbers line up, but this is a foreclosure, and foreclosure living comes with baggage. There's cleanup, there are repairs, there's no water system yet. You'll need weekends, tools, and patience, and the kind of flexibility that most buyers with full-time jobs and young kids simply don't have. It's not a move in and celebrate type of home. It's a roll your sleeves up, figure it out as you go kind of home. And that's exactly why it doesn't work for everyone. But it does work for Kai and Emma. They've got time, they've got the energy, they already live simply, and where others might see a project, they see a beginning, a chance to finally own something and grow into it over time. For them, this isn't a backup plan. This is the plan.
Whisper my name in a kiss. Walk with me down Hilo Road where the fish pond bends. I'll build you a throne and you can run off and surf the waves. Fly far away and get my name. I'll stay and stare at the setting sun.
finally time to take a look at our last property. And for that, we gotta head to the east side of the island. Well, we seem to have found a place for everyone on our list. Daniel and Melissa would be best off pushing forward and making the Pines in Kona their home. And Kimo and Anella, they could build a grounded, beautiful life out in Ocean View. Kai and Emma, they'd make that Ranchos foreclosure not just work, but shine. And now, I think I found just the right place for our final buyer. It fits the budget, it's close to work, and it's in familiar territory. Welcome to Hilo.
The surf turned them around, hieroglyphs, secret petitions murmured by the ocean's glassy tongue. In each curl of the wave, I find her face, smooth into a trembling whisper of light.
Now, I'll be honest, I love Hilo. When the sun shines here, I swear it's the most beautiful place in the United States. The air feels soft, the trees here are alive, and the whole town slows down just enough for you to actually feel time passing. When it rains, which it does a lot, Hilo turns into something else entirely.
I stand between waves and rain, a hollow husk of longing and memory. Her sickness took her body, but not her echo woven into these islands. And
it rains here on average 211 days a year, but the rain in Hilo isn't something that you hide from. It's soft, constant, and strangely comforting. If there's anywhere on Earth where rain feels like home, it's here in Hilo. But Hilo isn't just beautiful, it's working class, it's real, and it's local. As of 2022, about 21,000 people call this labor force home. And most of them work in fields that keep the community going. Education is the biggest employer, with over 3,000 teachers, staff, and support workers keeping schools running. Healthcare and social services are a close second, employing nearly 2,900 residents in hospitals, clinics, and community centers. Retail trade rounds it all off with about 2,500 workers, everyone from cashiers and managers to store owners and mechanics.
I stand between waves and rain, a hollow husk of longing and memory. Her sickness took her body, but not her echo woven into these islands. And each drop, each rolling tide, I find her again, a secret hidden in green silence. My daughter forever adrift in songs of salt and water, the unclaimed shimmer beyond all sorrow.
Office jobs, teaching, management. This is a town that runs on steady hands and long hours. The median household income here sits right around 75 grand a year, and the average job pays just over 54,000. It's not flashy, it's not extravagant, but it's stable. And with unemployment rates holding steady at just 3%, Hilo remains one of the most grounded and dependable communities on the island. This isn't a place that people move to escape, it's a place they come to plant roots. Hilo doesn't rely on tourism like Kona, and that changes everything. Where Kona chases resort dollars and short-term rentals, Hilo runs on schools, clinics, and year-round jobs. It means the housing market isn't driven by out-of-state investors or vacation condos. It's slower, more stable, and a lot more grounded. You won't find luxury spas or sunset luau's every night, but you'll find neighbors, rain, and people who actually live here. Okay, we've seen mostly homes so far, but here in Hilo, we're going to be switching gears. This time, we're looking at a condo, a traditional condo. Tucked into the heart of town, just minutes from the farmers market, schools, and parks, sits Unit 149 at Hilo Terrace, a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom condo in one of the most walkable, local-friendly spots on the island. Built in 1963, this ground floor unit spans 743 square feet, and it's part of Building K, the only concrete building in this complex. Inside, you'll find tasteful upgrades from 2019, a butcher block counter, new laminate granite floors, a modern vanity, and a clean, updated tile shower. It's small, simple, and it's ready to go. The list price, $230,000. The monthly HOA, $535. Now that's going to be covering water, sewer, building insurance, and access to the on-site pool and laundry facility. Now, like we talked about before with the Pines, this HOA, you got to pay every month with your mortgage. But perhaps most importantly, this is the kind of location that makes everyday life easier. You can walk to work, walk to school, get groceries without a car. This isn't just affordable, it's livable. Listed at $230,000, this condo is already one of the most accessible options on the island. But we're going to offer $210,000. That's based on recent comps and the unit's time on market. With an FHA loan and 3.5% down, the buyer would need around $7,000 for the down payment, plus another $6,000 in closing costs, roughly $13,000 up front. At that purchase price, the estimated monthly cost, including mortgage, taxes, insurance, and HOA, would come in at around $1,750, making it more affordable than many rentals in Hilo. All right, suitability. This is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath condo, and it's only 743 square feet. But when I say only, I say it with quotation marks because walking around this place, it felt a lot bigger. Plus, there's a bonus room. There was an outside lanai area that someone closed off and created another room. You could use it as a storage closet or throw a kid in there. It would work great as a 3rd bedroom for a teenager or maybe the oldest kid in the family. The unit also opens up to a large shared yard, and there's a freshly renovated coin-op laundry facility on site. Did I mention there's a pool? Yeah, there's a pool. It's situated right in town. This condo is just minutes from every major employer in healthcare, education, and retail. With Hilo's strong job sectors, schools, clinics, offices, and government buildings, most buyers will find steady employment close by. It's set right in the Waianui neighborhood. This unit is surrounded by local schools, parks, stores, and public transit. It's a walkable, rooted part of town. It's not touristy, it's not flashy, but it's highly livable. Perfect for those who want to stay connected to local life and avoid long commutes. And this may not be the forever home, but it's a stable first step into ownership. The building is well established, the HOA is consistent, and the location will always be in demand for renters and future resale.
All right, so Hilo is pretty awesome. It's slightly more affordable than KONA, and when it's not pounding rain all day, it is by far the most beautiful place on planet Earth. And also, this condo is affordable with affordable HOAs. It even has a pool. Easy parking, you can park on the street, has a lot of things going for it, except it's small. It's only 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom. So maybe some of the bigger families aren't going to be able to fit in there. But the bigger question is, can you even afford to buy the thing? Let's find out. Kimo and Anela could technically make it work, squeezing in with their kids, managing the HOA, and staying under budget. Now, I've lived in a condo about this size with my kids while saving up for our first home. It's doable, but for a family with their income and momentum, this feels more like a stepping stone than a destination. Judgment call. I think they're better off with the Ocean View house. It has a lot more potential and space for them right now. Daniel and Melissa, with no question, could afford it. But with 4 kids, a 2-bedroom condo just doesn't fit their reality. This isn't the stage of life for shared bunk beds and stacked groceries. Judgment call doesn't work. This place is just too small for their big life. And Kai and Emma, they could probably make this one work. Budget-wise, it's a safer option, but condos don't give them what they need: leverage, land, or long-term equity building potential. Their energy is better spent on a property they can shape up, flip,
and build equity with. Judgment call? It works, but they're better off with the land and freedom at Ranchos. And that brings us to Leilani. She's been the one we've quietly rooted for this whole journey. The one who's been doing everything she can with what she has. A single mom of 3, holding down a full-time job, paying high rent, and somehow keeping it all together. We've looked at fixer-uppers, rural homes, houses in KONA, but none of them quite made sense for her. Until now. Because here, in the heart of Hilo, at a price that finally meets her reality, this one fits.
This is my home above the shore.
The Ocean View house and the Ranchos house technically made more sense budget-wise than this condo does, but with a purchase price of $210,000, an FHA loan, and a low down payment, Leilani could step into ownership for less than she spent on rent deposits over the years. The 30% rule puts her ideal housing budget at around $1,125 a month. But like many single parents, she's already stretching beyond that. Right now, she's paying $1,800 in rent. With mortgage taxes and HOA, this condo would land around $1,700 to $1,800 a month. So yes, it's a stretch, but it's a stretch she's already living with. The difference is this time, she'd be paying towards something that's actually hers. Judgment call, it's incredibly tight, but if she really stretches and stands on her toes, it works. Suitability. It's not big, but it's enough. 2 bedrooms plus the bonus room mean the kids will have to share rooms, just like many of us did growing up. It's on the ground floor, it's safe, and it's a concrete building. Ideal for a single mom with young keiki and bags of groceries. And just outside, the grassy yard. Perfect for after-school play. This is a manageable, stable space with room to breathe. It works. Employment opportunities. Leilani works in healthcare, specifically dental support. A field that's well-rooted in Hilo. From this location, she's within a 12-minute drive of nearly every major dental office in town. No cross-island commute, no traffic jam, just a short drive or walk to a steady paycheck. Judgment call, it works, simple, stable, and close to what matters.
Let my flesh return to what is and let my teeth remain. If I
All right, location and community. This isn't just where she lives, this is where Leilani grew up. She knows these beaches, she knows the back road. She's probably got memories tied to the school her kids will attend. This is her town. Judgment call, it works. This isn't just where she is, it's where she belongs. Long-term viability. Listen, it's not flashy and it's not big, I said it already, but it's hers. This is the kind of home that gives a family a reset, predictable bills, no landlord surprises, and a place to build from. And years from now, when the kids are grown up and the mortgage is mostly paid, this little condo will have become so much more than just a unit. Judgment call, it works, fully, beautifully, and on her terms. Some people get handed the keys and others have to bang the door down. This journey wasn't about dream homes or million-dollar views. It was about something deeper, possibility. It was about 4 possible buyers, 4 lives, 4 sets of hopes, burdens, and realities, each one reaching for something they weren't sure they could have. And one by one, we found them a way in. It might not be perfect and ideal in every circumstance, but it's what we have on the game board. Daniel, Melissa, Kimo, Anella, Kai, and Emma, they all found something that they could make work. And Leilani, the single mother of 3, paying more in rent than most pay in mortgages, working full time, raising her kids, stretching every dollar, and somehow still holding on to hope. For her, we found a place not far from where she grew up, in a town she already calls home, a small condo, modest, manageable, and most importantly, hers. It's not a fantasy. It's not a stretch of beach with infinity pools. It's a front door she can unlock without asking permission. A set of keys that she can hand to her kids one day and say, "We made it." This was never about the house. It was about the human behind it. And the truth is, on this island and in this market, home ownership isn't easy. But it's not impossible. Not if you're willing to look at the whole picture, and not if you're willing to get a little uncomfortable, and not if you believe that where you start doesn't have to be where you end. Okay, well, we made it to the end, and I gotta tell you, it was actually a lot of fun making this video. It's totally different from what we normally do. I gotta tell you, it's a lot easier walking around filming Julie looking at a house than doing this. But I think I like doing this. I like checking out the houses in HPP. I love Ocean View. It's one of the coolest places in the world. If you've never driven to the top of Ocean View and felt like you're on the moon, you're missing out. It's like an energy vortex up there. You should really do it.
Turn left.
But if you didn't notice, our buyers were actually AI-made creations. I used Midjourney to create them, and then I animated them in another program because I didn't have that many buyers, and I don't know that many people that would want to put their lives out there for everyone to see. I would love to do this with real people. So if you're interested in being in next month's video, you're not afraid to put your credit score, income, and a picture of yourself out there, get a hold of me and we'll make it happen. Sounds like a lot of fun. Until then, enjoy our video walkthrough that comes out next week, and good luck out there.